Earl here. Excuse. Mr. Robert.
Here.
Mr. Claire.
Here.
President Buffer.
Here. We had an executive session on July 6th and August 2nd to discuss personnel and legal issues. Let's go with department reports, code enforcement.
I have nothing outside of my two written reports.
Thank you. Engineering.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not going to be that quick, Mr. Snows. Just some of the ongoing items. They started on the pump stations, Neely did. They mobilized and started to set the shoring. So they're rocking and rolling. We're going to have our first construction meeting sometime here in August, I believe in the next couple of weeks, and then monthly after that. So they're moving along there. The paving, I did get the signed documents here this evening. I will issue the notice to proceed and schedule a pre-construction meeting and get that kicked off. The next two items, I've been talking to Mr. Butler on those, the Stony Brook slab remediation and the Mansfield storm sewer. Stony Brook slab remediation, one of those that we looked at in the past. Talked to Greg, it's something that I guess you guys would consider moving on again. Took a look at the information we have. There may be some additional geotech work depending on what has happened since the last time we were out there. So we put a not-to-exceed fee of $25,000 on that. We talked to Greg. I can't imagine it's going to be able to close to that, but they will have to keep coming back and asking for more. So Greg and I talked about doing that as well. Mansfield storm sewer, we did the design on that already, and we're waiting on board direction whether you want to put that out or how you want to handle that. Jacktown Road Bridge, we looked at that as well. It has deteriorated since we looked at it here a year or so ago. It can be a little tricky when we do something there because we're going to actually have to replace the bridge and give access to those homes because there's slides on the side that have part of that closed. So it's going to be pretty tricky to do that. But we're going to, you guys give us the authorization to do that. I'm now a structural engineer, given the reports that you guys have had in the past. We're going to kind of huddle up depending on what you guys do tonight. I can come back out and meet game plan how we're going to get that in place. Put an occupancy fee of $35,000 on that. We'll probably have to get definitely get geotech back out there because I think the area where the parapet walls, I think there's been some additional movement there. So we'll have to get them back out there. I have started to look at the Arrowhead properties for the board's direction. Talk to you guys about that at some point. I think that's all I have, Mr. President, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Meyer?
That's a question on the Jacktown and Stony Brook. I mean, what do you realistically think those are going to come in at the cost? Is there any way to kind of ballpark that?
Construction cost?
No, your cost.
I would think that Stony Brook's going to be somewhere south of 25, maybe between 15 and 20, and I would think that the Jacktown would probably be 20 to 25. It all depends on and with the geotech and how substantial that's going to be. That's the only reason I put that.
Joe, I to be honest, I've had several calls from residents of Jacktown. I mean, this has got to be something that we address as quickly as we can. And I don't know whether there's anything we can do with that other road to try to alleviate that. I know that egress and that's bad there, but certainly we can expedite this as quickly as we can.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you guys give this authorization, like I said, I already talked to our structural engineer this morning. Him and I are going to meet tomorrow. He's been out there once already. This years ago or whatever when we looked at it. So I mean, I was out there actually the call before. I mean, not believing I know the situation. Giant hole in there. So,
I know it's huge.
yeah. So,
I'm just concerned about their egress there and obviously the safety.
Yes, correct.
Question about Mansfield remediation. Do you have that bid ready, or where is that?
Oh yeah, it's the plans and specs are done, pretty much done. I think all we have to do is update the matrix, and I think we'll be ready to go out.
Okay. And I haven't seen that at all. Are you planning on it's supposed to go.
I don't know exactly the property, the area where it's going, but I know that we're rerouting the storm.
Okay, yeah, that's what needs to be
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Can you get those bids out to the board, or that bid back out to the board, so we can look at that? That's another thing that needs to be done.
I have an
Yeah, he has it going already. Yep.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Anything else for John? Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief, what?
Nothing outside my report.
Well, Chief, I want to just make a comment about the recent drug bust and stuff that occurred over here, and commend you and your officers for your work. We do appreciate all that. I know sometimes it's difficult for us to get our arms around these continuing drug issues in our community, but I just want to commend you and the staff and all the support agencies that help. It's greatly appreciated, and continue those efforts to keep our community safe. So please extend that congratulatory note to from the board to you, to your staff.
I will, thank you.
Public Works, Mr. Quayle.
Everything is in my written report is up to date, nothing new.
Nothing new? Thanks. Not too busy, huh? I was joking, really.
Got a question for Paul. For the building looking at to replace where the salt shed was, what type of time frame are you thinking on that?
I don't even know yet, because I can't even get to the part to tear that one down yet.
So not before winter?
No, that is never gonna make it this year.
Okay. Just be nice to have that equipment indoors.
Yeah, it would be, but it's the way everything's going right now, I can't get out of storm water.
Yeah. See, that's what I was waiting for you to say, so I'm sort of leading you into the stormwater. Well, we do appreciate your help as well, and sometimes not heroes out there doing the work, but we do appreciate your help. Sanitary, Bill Matlock is here tonight.
Please have all the reports and findings, any questions, I'll answer.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Matlock? Joel? Okay. Reports, Mr. Solicitor.
I have nothing outside the items that we discussed in executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Coons, appreciate it. Mr. Butler, you're up.
I have 13 items, but I'll keep it quick.
13.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say, Paul was pretty humble over there. Him and I got a stormwater list together. Some are older, some are newer, some are bigger, some are small. At last count, 45 different repairs he has to do in his crew, so, and some of them are big. So, we're with Paul. I just want to update on demolitions. We have 2 waves out there, really. We have 15 properties through Shaycog County for active 152, and those bid specs were prepared by KLH over to Shaycog, so we're waiting for those to come in bid. So we're getting a little closer on some of those. Those are 15 properties that we submitted. That doesn't mean we'll get the grant, but that's what we submitted. And then we also have 4 other homes that are getting ready to be demolished. Part of our energy analysis that was done through the grant we received last year was an application for a rebate for our pump station motors with First Energy, and I received a call from one of their review engineering firms that our application date is really phase 4, which is good news. He said give them a couple of weeks and we'll start talking about some of the technical information that they'll need. He said our project's substantial and our rebate would be substantial. I don't think there's any guarantee, but I think it's good. Phase 4 is really good, so John will be talking about that down the road. We're in the middle of our 2020 fiscal audit. The auditors were here the week of July 12th. We've been sending some documents constantly. It's all going well. That audit should be done and available by August, end of August. We've started to embark on a climate action plan that we're just working on when we have a little bit of time. We received a free 1-year membership with ICLEA. It's called basically a local government sustainability organization. They're going to help us develop that plan. So hopefully within a year we'll have a application through the DCD for our, what we call the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act. That's the federal infrastructure funding. So the application's completed, we're just waiting for the disbursement of funds. I know some municipalities have started receiving them, mostly the smaller municipalities were one of the larger ones, so most of them have.
So when is that, is there a date when that will occur? Receive this?
It has to be within 60 days of the application, so it's gonna be sent to us in 2 waves, first half, and then 6 months later, the second half. So our total is a little shy of 1.4 million. Prior to COVID, we were granted a peer mentorship program with Public Works, that's with the DCED, also with the Department of Community Economic Development. I was contacted by them last week, they want to get that program going again, so basically they're gonna follow up with a mentor from another retired Public Works foreman. And this was all applied for the Public Foreman at first, and he needed a little help. Still might, you never know, they're gonna redo the whole Public Works organization, equipment, down the procedures, and give us recommendations. So it's about a 6-month program, very hands-on, so looking forward to that, and always also. I'd like to throw out a public thank you to Joyce and Jamie at the office for all the work they've done with the audit. It's been a ton of work. I have been through audits in prior positions, but nothing like this. It's quite the endeavor. I had no idea how many documents they needed, so we're plugging away at it, and I'm sure it will be fine. Joyce and Jamie. And I don't thank John and Jess for all the code enforcement work. So that's it for my updates. I just want to mention a couple of things I want to keep on the radar of the public for possible future motions. One is a new storage shed, as Commissioner Poyer brought up. I'd like to keep that on the radar. I mentioned last time that the estimates would range somewhere between 50 and 65,000. Also, Paul informed me that our garage roof, part of it, not the entire one, but the older part, is in disrepair. He did receive one quote, just to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at, like, cost-wise. The one quote was 68,000. That's obviously a high enough amount that we would have to send out the bid, so, I think we're gonna do that. We may have to work with KLH to get some specs together or whatever. That way we can just get an estimate of what it's gonna cost, but according to the one person that looked at it, it has reached its useful life completely. Paul sent us some photos, giant holes in the roof, it's horrible. So 68,000 is what we're, somewhere in that area is where we're at. And then, just one other expense, some updates on our security within the building, we do have a broken lock. It's not completely broken, it does lock, but we have to remember to fix it, or adjust it when we leave over here, and then maybe some upgrades, but without going into detail, I'll send the commission all the information, perhaps we can consider those. Those total around $5,000. And that would include a buzzer that runs into the door, with a video camera and so forth. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for, our manager? Okay, committee reports, this report, budget finance?
Yeah, budget and finance, we met last month to kind of start looking at the budget. Really what we're trying to do is just attack the expenses and see where we can cut expenses, combine stuff like the Comcast bills, save money. So we're working on that right now. We're gonna start meeting monthly through the end of the year now.
Code enforcement, Mr. Cook.
Okay, we had, one meeting 2 weeks ago to discuss, liens and vacant properties. I had a 1-hour meeting with our solicitor the following week to discuss, redevelopment in the township, and we are going to have another meeting to go over, some of the details. Just to reiterate something that Greg stated earlier, our demolition program is moving forward. We're waiting to hear back on the results from the Act 152 grant through Allegheny County that would cover the cost of the demolitions. Despite the decision, we do have $40,000 in our demolition fund, and there is money in capital reserve. We may eye that up depending on the outcome. One thing that I wanted to bring up is that There is an outstanding appeal of a demolition that we voted on a few years ago. We put it up for bid, hired the contractor. The contractor has been paid for the property, but the resident and owner of the property has it tied up in court. This all happened right at the beginning of COVID, so the hearing was canceled and was never rescheduled on their end. I spoke to the contractor, and he is more than willing to accommodate whatever we would like. If it takes years, he would be fine with doing that. If we would like to substitute that property out for something comparable, he would be willing to do that. So that may be something that the committee discusses in the coming weeks. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Joanne is Parks and Recreation. Kyle, can you give us a report now?
Nothing new to report.
Thank you. We had a personnel meeting. Rob, you want to comment on that? Bridges in here. Just update.
I don't know, I won't say too much, I mean, I don't know too much, I'm saying, just in the process.
We're in the process of still looking for chief.
Still looking for chief,
And move that process along.
we're moving forward.
Rob, Public Safety Police.
Not much to report, except we are working with, the police contract, and it's coming up the end of this year. We're actively working to, get our meeting set and get that resolved.
Thank you. Kyle Walk, Sanitation.
Nothing more, nothing to present there.
Thank you.
Many more broken pipes. That's what else.
Get public comment. John Vela, 340 Duncan Station.
Yeah, whatever. My commissioner isn't here tonight, but she recommended that I write a letter to Mr. Butler. I don't know if you got it.
I did, I have it.
Okay. And concerning the paving of my street, it's an extension of Duncan Station that now it's at the end of the road, it stopped because private individuals own the property. But between my home and Dr. Wilson's office, I talked to both of them, people, and they said that it definitely needs redone. And Mr. Kuzma, you can verify because you go to his office.
I do.
And how's the ride?
A little bumpy.
Yeah, a little bumpy. That's right. And one more thing, that people come down the street, instead of making a turn, they come straight in to the dentist's office, turn around in circles, they come out and they go, where's the center, the community center? On the street. You have no signs at all. You know, put them up the road a little bit so when the people come down, they can see it. They come straight into, past my house and into the doctor's office. And another thing, that you have a sign for a ball field. Well, you come down the station and you're to turn right. Well, they have a sign over on the left side of the road, ball field, about this big. There's a speed limit sign right there, 20 mile an hour. Put an extension on top of the stop sign, put an arrow point. Very simple, very simple. And we won't have the confusion on all the cars. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Linda Bennett.
Good evening, and I'd like to thank you very much for reinstating our porta potty at the Green Oak Log Home. We've been having numerous functions there, and we just had this blue and gray Civil War reenactment on Saturday. It was phenomenal. They shot muskets, we had community involvement, we had children there, they learned how to do backpacks, and cook everything the Civil War would have done. I'm here actually to hope that you will consider waiving the zoning-free permit tonight. We're going to install a little garden shed at the log home. We actually have been receiving generous donations from the community, antique farm equipment. So this little building that we're going to be putting up, 10 by 12, I did work with Mr. Snelson, gave him a blueprint, gave him a diagram of the building. It will be a batten bead with a green oak, a green metal roof on the top of it. So it will look very nice and enhance the property there. We are continuing with the landscaping. We've planted a Fraser fir. We've planted 4 red twig dogwoods. So it's looking really quite nice. And I would like to invite you all, giving you a month's notice, for September 25th, which is our annual Green Up Block Home Day. That community event will be held, again, September 25th from 10 to 5, in conjunction with the Green Up Methodist Apple Fest, best apple dumplings in town. They're only making 400 this year, so you've got to get there early, 12 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I thought maybe you were gonna bring some of those apple dumplings tonight. But I guess not.
Next month.
Thank you. And you're at.
I'm gonna rattle these off real quick,
Sure.
because I might use up more than my 3 minutes. There may be some, I didn't attend by Zoom any of the comprehensive plan meetings. Mr. Butler did make some flash drives for me, but I didn't have the capability to read them yet, and I finally, just 2 days ago, found out how to get, because I have an iPad and you can't plug them in. But what I was gonna say, what are the key points of the comprehensive plan for everybody? Because I don't know anybody that knows anything about it. But why are we paying the people, which I don't care, they're getting paid either way, when all these other communities are getting a grant to pay for this? When I look through the warrants, we're paying for it, the taxpayers are paying for it. What is being done, and this is going to be addressed in those meetings, what is being done to increase the tax base with new developments or whatever? In the last 10 years, North Huntington built over 1,000 homes. Ross Straver built over 200 homes, building over 200 homes as I speak, and not counting homes that were built in the last couple of years. Bethel Park, if you go over to South Hills Village, where the CVS is at Route 88, there was a little clump of woods in there. Ryan Hunt bought that property, they dug it up, leveled it off. It's already sold out. They only started like 5 months ago. What are we doing here? Elizabeth Township, I don't know, I only know 2 of the years. In 2017, there were only 3 new homes built here. 2018, 3 homes in 2017, 3 homes in 2018, and another year there was only 1 home. And there was a period over several years where there were 13 building permits issued, and 2 of them were the Dollar General stores. And I hope this is all addressed in this comprehensive plan. And the other question I want to know, because everybody asks me this, what is the total debt of Elizabeth Township, including the sewer authority? And I know that Elizabeth Township got $1.2 million in stimulus money. What has been done with that, if anything? Has there been any consideration for a new administration building and library that actually serves all the citizens of the township? Is Elizabeth Township creating a new authority to address the storm water management? I'm not saying you should do it, but I notice all the other communities are creating a storm water management authority. And I don't know, I don't know how you report the grants, but you talked a couple grants. There's communities around us getting millions and millions of dollars in grants. I don't see the evidence of that in this community, and I'd like to know why not. And the other thing that comes up to me all the time, I run into people all the time down at McDonald's. They all think PennVest money was a grant. It is a loan. I try to tell them that, and they don't understand that. And Greg, I really appreciate you, well, I want to say one thing about you. You better identify the personnel and litigation. I have the law, I didn't have time to dig it up.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. And the comprehensive plan, our folks are here tonight to answer some of your questions. Our next resident, I think it's Marcy Ellsbury. Marcy, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, I'm Marcy Ellsbury, and I am the founder and the CEO of Mantle House Mission. We are a 501c3, and we are located in your Elizabeth Township, and we have been operating a business for 3 years. We opened in April of 2018 down on Douglas Fern Road, and we operated a clothing store, a household goods store, and furniture store. I don't know if I've seen any of your faces there, but I'm hoping that I do, everybody else here. But our main mission is to house homeless adults, which we do that in West Newton, which we also have another store over there that we've been operating in 2012. I'm here tonight to tell you that we have been running a store Fridays and Saturdays on Douglas Fern Road in the old Victory Schoolhouse. My husband has remodeled it, and we've had volunteers come in to remodel the first and second rooms, so if any of you attended school there, it would have been the third and second grade rooms. We have one more room to remodel, and our plans are to help communities and families in crisis. So we are developing our third room with household goods and clothing, so that if somebody who is flooded out, families in crisis of flood, fire, eviction, and as you all know, the moratorium is coming to an end. And I do believe we are Christian, and I believe the Lord has spoken that this is going to be a major issue, and we've seen it on the news the last week. So we want to help the community members and families in the Elizabeth, West Newton, and Mon Valley area with any needs that they may have. So we want to work with all of you, but here's our issue. I mean, we do operate the store, and that does help bring some funding in, but we don't have any signage anywhere. We don't have any signage at the end of Skillet Hill. We don't have any signage at the end of, we don't have any signage anywhere. So it's been, thank goodness for social media and Facebook, that we are able to get that out there, that we operate this store, which is all adult clothing is only $2, and we've helped many young parents with $5 box sales, which includes, and bag sales, which includes clothing for children and around before the school period. So our goal and our passion is to help those in need. So with that being said, we are wanting to have permission to get signage somewhere so that we can get this accomplished.
There's some issues we have to work out there at that property under the zoning and everything. If you recall some of them that Greg and I talked about, there's some issues we have to work out ahead of time prior to some zoning use.
Are they able to be worked out?
We work with Marcy to.
Yeah, we'll have to, I'll talk to Matt later this week, and we'll try to figure out what's the there's still a little issue with the property that needs to be resolved there as well.
Okay.
Or we will work on it.
All right, Roy, thank you, and thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you
And,
for all your work. We appreciate it.
hope to see you all down there, but I invite you to come visit, please.
Thank you.
Friday, Saturday, 10 to 4.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Marcy. That concludes our public comment. We have a presentation tonight from our friends from Environmental Planning and Design. We have Carolyn Yeagle. We have another.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get the phone. I just have a really quick comment.
Come on up.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. How you been?
I'm good. So my comment or question is that, and this goes to the order that these things are done in that I mentioned before, and the fact is there a way to go ahead and ask some questions at the end of the presentation? Because the way it's set up now, public comment comes before these events that have a lot of heavy information coming that people have questions about perhaps, but there's no way.
Well, we're gonna let, you've been on the committee.
No, I know.
I mean, you sat through every meeting, so obviously if there are questions, you might be able to help answer and explain some of them.
I just meant in the setting of this, when it's all said.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem if you ask a question.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Carolyn Yeagle and AJ Schwartz, come on down. you in person. If you know, you can speak into the mic, yeah. I mean, for the last year and a half, we've been seeing these people for the most part virtually, and they've been doing some work. So if you can't see, if you want to move over, if you can see their plan, there's about 10 slides, guys?
Yes.
About 10 slides?
Yes.
And can everybody see that? We need to shut the lights off to maybe.
Carol, do you want a chair?
I'm fine. I'll.
Sure, you can share.
Okay. Your chair? Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, the opportunity to come this evening. AJ Schwartz and I, Carolyn Yagel, have been having the opportunity to talk with representatives of the township and hundreds of people within the township over the course of really about 1 year. And what we aim to do this evening would be to introduce that we're ready to have a public review draft come forward for the community's consideration. And then ultimately, we would move into a public review period. That is something that is required as part of this process. So there we go. As part of our efforts, the comprehensive plan looks at really what that high-level vision is for the township. And previous planning efforts you all have done as part of some joint types of discussions, but in thinking about this as a 10-year, 15-year plan, right, setting the stage for what those key actions are over the coming decade plus has been the real charge of this effort. And so as we move forward, this is our representation of that 1 year time period, where we got geared up with some of the background information with you all last summer, and then in the fall, started going through all of that information to analyze it, and then thinking about the kinds of big picture topics that were important as part of some of the steering committee discussions. And there was representation on the steering committee of municipal representatives, as well as members of the public, and having lots of different perspectives from a resident side, from a conservation side, business, as well as looking at sort of what that balance is, and thinking about, again, sort of what do we want to do for this long-term view in our different kinds of policies and projects. So as we went into the latter part of 2020, we really had about a 6-month period where we had lots of discussions, right, in these different forums with the public. And we'll have a highlight here of all that kind of involvement in just a moment. And through those discussions, then thinking about what are the potential goals for the community in the next decade plus ahead. And then again, really the meat of it, the core of it is thinking about what are those key actions. So as we come into the summertime, we are ready to then think about all of this together as a document, a comprehensive plan that is looking at quite a number of topics. So, as we've heard from individuals throughout the municipality, we did have 5 virtual sessions. Those were live, where there was a discussion and presentation and Q&A. And then that was really looking at sort of that core piece over a 3-month period of those live events. What was also happening sort of leading into it and on the back side of those events were actually some questionnaires. There were 2 rounds of questionnaires that was building on what we heard from the 150 people that participated in the live events. And the questionnaires and visiting and thinking about and sharing what your aspirations are for the municipality. Over 600 people participated as part of that effort. And that is, I believe, quite significant because
the topics that people brought up were so wide in their interests, meaning that there were, again, looking at what the different perspectives that residents and business owners brought to the table, examined what kinds of things are important for us for land use, for conservation, for our civic amenities, and even some of the discussions that people brought up as part of public comments this evening, right? Those policies. So, also within this past year, we had the opportunity to meet 15 times with the steering committee and have those discussions. So, really being able to think about some ideas and then consider what the trade-offs of some of those ideas were. Some that worked, some that needed to be rethought and retooled. So that is what we have. The township introduced this plan early on as part of its web presence. And since this effort for the comprehensive plan, there has also been some reconfiguration, right, of the township's website, because part of this is about the kind of information and how to share that with the public. So even moving some of this forward. So a lot of the background information and analysis was then presented as part of this portal. And moving forward with the comprehensive plan, the township's going to be able to have its GIS and do a lot more really daily planning with the tools that we've made. The township does not have, at this point in time, all of that information in-house. So we have taken what is available through Allegheny County and now customized it specifically to the township, and then being able to share that back with you as part of this effort. So really building a deeper base of the mapping resources that are available, and sort of interactive with them. So there were 3 lenses, as we call them, right? If we had that third eye, we would add that on. There was the examination of what was happening from a land use perspective, what is happening as part of open space, and those resources, and then the services. So that thinking about everything in terms of civic assets, the non-residential areas, and then the connections of those types of things, and how some of those even relate to the river and your other resources. So there are 4 overarching goals, and in doing a summary here, just for the few minutes that we have on this slide, we're really looking at what came out as part of the public discussions was sort of a clear forwardness of thinking about what is happening with these open space areas, with sort of these more scenic portions of the township, and people that have that as the kind of character, right, that is here in Elizabeth Township. What does that mean to people, and how is there some sort of continued respect for those, and the connections between them. The connections between them has been quite a key part of that discussion, because it's really in the relationship also to the parks and recreation amenities that are here, right? You have a lot of things that you use every day, but you also have a lot of things that a lot of people that do not live in Elizabeth Township use every day. So what is that balance that needs to be considered? And that moves then into the consideration as the committee and as the public comments that we receive, thinking about what that balance is between some specific areas of targeted development or redevelopment in certain cases, and the conservation of the natural resources. That is a really interesting seesaw in terms of some of those discussions and that balance. Thinking again how that also then relates to some specific land uses and the environmental legacies that exist. So how does that then move into those other discussions about redevelopment or conservation? And in portions of that, how that relates to the local economy moving forward. I think someone was talking about that in part of the public comment, right? So examining. And then last but not least, the celebrating and preserving the township's unique identity as a historic community with this complement of rural, of suburban, and small town character. So a key item here is that that character continues to move forward and drive the decisions. So there are actually 24 actions that are outlined within the comprehensive plan draft, as it is a draft at this point in time, and they relate to these 6 topics. These 6 topics actually were from the last public meeting that occurred, the ones that just shone, right, to all of us. And there was quite a discussion as part of that public meeting about really these elements that could be, again, sort of the foundation for the projects and policies moving forward. So I'll quickly run through them. Protect and connect open space. Again, moving that one really forward to the top. Looking to the river. Enhancing civic amenities, broadening the housing choices, activating redevelopment opportunities, and spreading the word. I do believe that prior to us, AJ and I coming up, that people in the public have hit on several of these topics quite clearly, and that the direction that the comprehensive plan with the public's input so to date are really an incredible meld, right, of some. These 24 action steps are each presented as almost a guide, each one structured so that there is thinking about what the detailed recommended effort is, if it's a policy or a project related item. If it requires or if it's recommended that the township look into partnering with others in order for these types of things to happen. This is not an effort over the next decade plus that the township needs to bear alone. It is thinking about, again, what you can do, because all of the things that happen here with your residents as well as all the many visitors. The time frame and costs, and getting an understanding of the relative relationship between lower cost items and ones that are going to take potentially more resources. Someone was talking about grants, and in that relationship of there are a number of these that do incorporate that kind of consideration, and even in the partnerships for them. So what is the practicality of those? The time frame of them. Is this something that is a short-term effort or a longer-term effort? Even if there is a longer-term effort called out within the comprehensive plan, that does not mean the township is necessarily needing to wait 5 years, 7 years, what have you, to do it. There are many steps that can ultimately be put, those tiny steps, right? Moving it forward inch by inch or foot by foot, just as you would in a football game to try and get that first down. Several of these actions within the comprehensive plan will then be identifying that there are steps along the way ultimately to get to that, achieving that overall action. And then, of course, there's some background where it's relevant to give everyone an understanding of what the factors are that have gone into that recommendation and considerations for. So, prior to us sort of doing a wrap here of the formal slides, the consideration for the township to keep moving the process forward. The next step in this would be identifying that there is a public review period and initiating that public review period of all of the things that have been discussed and considered as part of the public comments through the last year, and 2021 specifically, that we've combined into a book. And it would be that the consideration for the township to be able to post that book for people to take a look at it holistically, and then be able to give comments and move forward for the township's consideration. So, AJ, besides the considerations that we've identified here as part of the process, are there some things that you'd like to add in?
When Carolyn walked you through, was kind of the purpose of the comprehensive plan and the way that the document that you guys will be able to see how it's kind of organized. I think you're the one that had the list of things that really need to be addressed, and I'm gonna come back to some of your comments. Or smacking that, or smacking it. I think the committee was spot on to some of the points, or most of the points that you had raised. You're gonna see in the plan, there's fundamentally a couple key things that from our perspective and the committee's perspective, the plan is really built out. There has been very little growth, and it's been, slow. If it's zero, it's not much more than zero. And one of the things that everybody wanted to look at is what was going on. Why was that happening? On the other side of that, there's a lot of people in the community that don't want to see a lot of things happen, right? So you have this balancing act as a community that this plan is trying to kind of find. It's trying to find that pivot point so you don't go too far one way or the other. One of the things that, in terms of the actions that is being suggested, is there's using some techniques in terms of zoning, things like that, to be able to direct growth into certain areas. And one of the things, you've had lands that have been developed in the past in some way, shape, or form that have been sitting either vacant or underused for a couple decades in some cases. How to direct growth there? So some of the green spaces or the farmland could stay farmland, and using some of those techniques to be able to do that. So I think a lot of the points that you had raised, this plan is trying to attempt to deal with. On kind of the fiscal side, one of the questions you had asked is about the debt. That's one of the sobering realities, I think, in terms of the community, is that Elizabeth hasn't necessarily kept pace. Again, I'm saying this in a way, your community competes with other communities. You pointed to North Huntington as an example. You have to have amenities and things to attract new residents, right? And so to have new amenities or nice stuff, simple way of saying it, that all comes down to money, right? And so there's again this kind of connection between having growth, having some development, to be able to have some tax base, but at the same time not lose the landscape that you all cherish. That's why you live here, and having that green space. So this plan does attempt to do that. In the notion of the plan, if you go back and you look at some of the background information, one of the things the committee dove into was looking at how you have over the years spent money. And the way that we kind of analyzed, we compared with some other communities, just did some benchmarking, and we looked at the proportion of your budgets, how they were being spent. I will say, for not having raised taxes for so many decades, you really have done an excellent job in terms of managing without having increases in terms of taxes, what's coming into the general fund. But you reached a breaking point where you're not able to put the same oil and gas in the car, so to speak, as you have in past years. And so if you need to make improvements, there's going to be some tough decisions and tough discussions you guys are all going to have. We've tried to address that in the plan. It's going to take a little while to be able to do some of the things I think that the community wants to do. I think, and that's where we're hoping to get input from people in terms of what those priorities are. Is it to encourage new development? Is it to further protect green space? How does it got to get some new development to get some increased tax base, etc.? To some degree, it's a chicken and an egg, and we need to understand what the community really wants to see. Hence the review period. This is your opportunity to be able to look at what the committee has kind of put down on a piece of paper and say, here's what we think from all the studies and the analysis and the discussion that they've had, what they think is the right path in the future. Now it's time to present that to everybody and get everybody else's input. In the committee meetings, I think, Carolyn's fair to say, I don't think there was any heated debates, but there were a lot of debates. There's a lot of different perspectives.
I think there were those perspectives, and there were also, the committee took all of the comments that people made as part of those public meetings and the survey comments, and so several hundred, right, where they are trying to balance that out as well, AJ, yes.
So I think hopefully when you delve into it or dive into it and start looking at the exhibits, you'll see
the points that you were raising, I think the township is trying to tackle in some way, shape, or form. So this is a point in time. There is nothing that is set in stone by any stretch of imagination. I think the committee spent a lot of time, and they've tried to work some things out, so I think there's no fantasy, there's no pie in the sky ideas. They've been very grounded in terms of the approach that they've taken, and I think it's giving you as a community, as the public, a lot of hard things to think about and give some input in terms of what you think it is that right path. With that said,
Thanks, AJ.
Carolyn,
I was gonna say,
I just want to, I think the important thing is that we wanted to really take a look, a thoughtful approach. And I know a lot of communities do a lot of different things. But when I first started as commissioner here, there was no plan. There had never been a plan. There might have been some many years ago, but we couldn't find it. And I think that the intent of having an organization like this to come in and really analyze this community, because it is so critical that I learned that to preserve what we have is very important. And it's a great place to live. But we have a lot of amenities that people don't know about. But we also have that balance of trying to find a way to improve the life and the style of living that we have here. So I think that, the important thing is that we're not just building to build. We're not just not building to not build. We're looking at this whole package of what this plan. So I urge all of you and your friends who live in the community to look at this document. It is a live document. It's something you should review, take a look at, give us your feedback, and that's the plan for tonight. So that's really, we want to get that out. AJ, I think that's, I want to ask the commissioners if they have any questions.
yeah, I wanted to, if you don't mind, you had asked a question in terms of why the township was bearing the cost of doing this plan and not having gone.
And I understand that. I don't know why.
Give you a little context. I can't speak to if they applied for a grant. The planning grants in the Commonwealth and Pennsylvania really have gone down pretty dramatically over the last probably 10 years. What you're going to see in the plan is a heavy emphasis in terms of how to fund some of the actions. So rather than the township pursuing a grant to do the plan, what they really focus on is how do we defray the cost of the community by pursuing grants to do some of the implementation stuff. So I think they're mindful of how that money is being spent and looking at where the best odds are of getting grant support, in terms of those public funds. So when you go through the plan, you'll see again a heavy emphasis in terms of that side.
I want to make 2 points, take a minute, but you talked about the township not raising taxes that much. A school district is one of the highest taxed communities in the state of Pennsylvania, and the people are paying for not receiving it, because maybe 2,000, 2,300 kids in the school. Art, do you know?
I would say about 20.
Okay,
but
anyway,
I would challenge you that it's the highest tax rate in the state.
it's one of the highest. But anyway, there's a lot of senior citizens here. We got an income base of people below poverty levels moving in. It's becoming a larger part of the population. And most of the taxes, and I'm one of them, 70 or 75% of taxes go to the school district. But there's nothing here for all the people. We had a library in, wait a minute, we had a library in the school and you got rid of it.
Okay, we're not, this is not,
Nothing here.
this is not a, this is
Debate,
AJ.
I understand.
It's not, yes, right. You have your opinion, thank you. Anyone else want to make a comment? Ted, did you have anything to add?
No, I just wanted to have this opportunity to have.
Good.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Okay. Any questions from the township commissioners?
I would like to ask a question. And whenever I ask this question, I don't want you to think that me asking this is criticizing you, but I generally would like to know the information. So, Allegheny County has the second oldest population in the United States. Second to Miami-Dade County, Florida.
Yes.
Now, something that I was a little bit dissatisfied with, and I haven't been able to attend meetings because I'm an alternate, and we can't have a quorum of commissioners at these meetings, so I've been watching, very tentatively. But something I was dissatisfied with was that, there weren't any hard copy questionnaires sent out to people. I made the suggestion early on, and I would like to know if it was conveyed to you, or if you even did it. I made the suggestion of attaching a survey to our sewage bills, because we send out 4,500 letters every month. Legal Tax Service would attach a survey, no problem. They would be willing to collect them and give them back to us at virtually no cost. 4,500 sewage bills go out every month. Now, we had 600 responses out of 13,000 people. Now, the makeup of my ward, Ward 3, is a little bit different. I have a lot of people that don't know what a comprehensive plan is. They don't know what a commissioner is. Some people ask me if they live in Elizabeth Borough or Elizabeth Township, and people would be absolutely terrified to come up into the public and speak in a microphone and voice things. And they didn't even have the opportunity to do that. They had to go on Zoom. And I have a resident that throughout all of this is 97, and she called me to ask me what a QR code is, because she got a postcard in the mail, maybe like twice the size of that, and said, view this QR code. I had to look it up. I'm 25. I had no idea what a QR code was. So did you do anything that wasn't virtual to get information? Did you attach something with either the real estate tax bills or the 4,500 sewage bills?
In terms of coordinating with Greg, we did have that opportunity because there were two things. There were copies available at the township, and anyone who called and requested one, there will be one made for them, and then they could deliver that. The second part, though, to your question, is you were identifying someone called you and then shared that information. There was actually the dedicated phone line choice on the township, at the municipal building here, and someone could, pardon? A telephone, right. They would be able to call that, push the number, and then they could leave their information, just as they had shared it with you here at the township building. And all of those then were stored, and they would review them to determine, and we would call and ask and discuss those things.
This isn't meant to criticize.
I understand.
I just don't know how this works.
Yes, so that was one. And then, there was one other one. We worked with the business directory as that went out, and the information was shared in that way as well. So, AJ, you had something else you're thinking of?
So, one of the things that we, over the years, have really kind of observed or noticed is people surveys. People don't do mail-in surveys as much. So these alternatives of being able to have a phone and call a number, we didn't want to rely solely on computer, because a lot of people don't have computers.
Sure.
My parents are 80, they wouldn't respond to even an email because they think that something's going to happen. So the idea was to have a variety of different avenues for somebody to do. So while we didn't do the paper, for the amount of return you get, we, I think collectively all thought the alternatives would produce more wheat, so to speak.
Okay, now the fact that you considered it and you discussed it, I'm satisfied with that.
And Greg, I believe, had some people call in and picked up that information when they called in.
I think when you look at the document, if you read it, you're gonna find some very rich, I would think, very powerful information that I think reflects what this community wants and desires. I do. And I think it's gonna be the decisions of this group to decide where we go next. Because, believe it or not, the easy part's the plan. The hard part's execute. Because that's gonna take the heavy lift. This stuff here, but again, I want everyone on this board. Dan, you were on those meetings. Kyle, you sat through those meetings. I mean, I think we had extremely powerful conversations with people from all walks, from every age, that I think provided us with some really important information that puts this document as a living document. Dan, you want to comment on that?
I just want to say to AJ, so for the residents, business owners that read the comprehensive plan and they want to respond with their comments, what's the best way, in your opinion, for them to do that?
Feel free
There's that QR
Well,
code.
Andrew, if you don't know how to use a QR code, you should.
I know now, I hear now.
You should mark out. Welcome.
When the document goes out, and we're trying to consider something in the next 10 days or so, would be then that it is going to be posted. There will be a copy here at the Township building. There is, I called it the other day, the phone line option, where people can leave that voice without needing to type, into, this is the address that we have utilized throughout the project. It remains the same, and people have emailed in comments there. There will be the ability for people to look at the document online and even give comments to that, so that people can understand what others may be thinking. They will be reviewed so that there is objective and constructive comments, so that there are anything that comes across otherwise in terms of respect for all of the residents and businesses of the township will be considered.
You should put a regular address on it, because probably a third of the community doesn't have access to a computer. That's why I asked for a library.
I'd like to
So many senior citizens don't have a computer.
That's kind of what I was getting at for how people get hold of it, because not everybody uses email.
So if we use the township address
Township
for the
address.
municipal buildings, then, okay.
I'd like to also add that anybody can come up to the township building, we'll take your comments, obviously. We have copies of everything, hard copies. For distribution.
Even Greg, if you created a Dropbox or something that somebody had typed or handwritten comments, they can drop it in.
We do have one for the code, so it's out there.
It's out there.
Can I follow up?
Can I get the residents, please?
Well, I just have one more, because it was brought up, just in 2 minutes, because they brought something up. It was brought up just now that, if I read the actual document, I see substantive material. I want you to know that I did read every word of the document. It's on our quads. But my question is, how specific? I wasn't able to find anything specific in it. And I don't know if I'm misunderstanding a comprehensive plan, because I've read other ones. But just to give you a quick thing, 30 seconds. Elizabeth Township voted on, advertised, put out to bid for a dog park in the township, okay? We have a dog park fund. Jane Blake is behind you, was instrumental in that. We have a dog park fund. We have $75,000 in it. KLH did the engineering for it. On the Chapel Drive property, it's been sitting there for 20 years. The road crew was instructed to order the asphalt to pave Jane Drive up to the top. And it was stopped because of the comprehensive plan. Is something else specific addressed in the comp plan?
Okay, in some plans, you will find that level of detail. In the case of your townships, one of the recommendations that you'll see is there's probably an overall review of all your parks and green spaces that you have, that you first should do that. Through that type of effort, then you can start to prioritize what are the major projects that you really need to do, of which then you can do the level of detail you just described for the dog park. So there are a lot of playgrounds that need attention. Which one first? Those were the things that the plan itself couldn't address every one of those areas equally. So what we had to do is take a step back and say, okay, the first thing they should do is look at the entire park system that they have, figure out what are the big, people have talked about, community center, et cetera. What are those priorities that really need to be addressed first? Kind of size those problems generally, then prioritize. Once you know what those priorities are, then you can get into the level of detail in terms of, like your example, in terms of the dog park. There are some other recommendations, for instance, zoning. There's things that are related to the zoning ordinance. We've gone through and have done some analysis in terms of the current ordinance, but to go through and enumerate every one of the things that should be addressed, I shouldn't say needs, should be addressed, probably is getting a little too detailed for the nature of what a comprehensive plan is. So we try to scale, and again, given your community and some of the things that you really should be focusing on, we try to scale the level of detail. You will find other comp plans that we did one a few years ago in Mount Lebanon, very detailed because they only had a handful of things that they were focusing on. As Carolyn said, there's 24 different actions that you probably need to tackle. Each one of those, there's a whole series of additional steps that needs to be done.
Okay, thank you, both.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, we'll have a couple questions.
My question is twofold. First,
AJ should
number,
have
okay, my question would be twofold. First, how many pages is the comprehensive plan? What's the page? 25, 30, 40?
It's presently 50.
Okay, 50.
Plus.
Okay, would it be possible to get a hard copy of this, or have a hard copy here at the township office, where if somebody wanted to come, they could view it? Now, if a resident would like a hard copy, could we pay the copy fee to get our quote hands on one? You know, I know that you can't copy for free.
We can make, I think our plan is to make copies available here, if residents want to come in. I mean, I certainly don't want to cause a burden to have somebody copy, but our plan is
Exactly.
to have copies here for folks to look at. If you want to read it here, look at it here, review it. I mean, I'm not sure, but we could probably check it out or take it. We certainly want to make it convenient for folks to look at.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Appreciate
I
it.
want to answer that. Get it free, get a flash drive, and have it on a computer and download it on your flash drive.
If you have a computer, you'll be able to get it online. I mean, you'll be able to download that online. One question, yes. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna sneak up here.
Yeah.
And this will be quick.
I'm Robert Baum. First, I want to know who you know who I am. Robert Baum, been a township resident, 1960, built house 65. I'm still here. I'm a real estate broker, 61 years. Milwaukee Keys, where we do a lot of business in the township. There was an article in the MVI, Mon Valley Independent, requesting people that if they were interested in this comprehensive plan to apply to be considered to be on it. And I did. I sent what I thought was a great letter and a lot of background. And I didn't hear one word, which I thought was kind of disappointing and discourteous. My question is, though, we're talking about a committee. This committee, I assume, are township people, and I don't know who they are. I'd like to know who's on that committee, what their background is, what their knowledge is, what they're able to offer as a committee member for your help and education. You know, I have a basic question, who's on that committee? Are they all from the township?
Sure. They're all township residents. Thank you. It's documented in the plan. Yes. It's in the plan.
It's real quick, Scott Taylor, 304 Mohawk Drive. In regards to getting this document out to people, if I'm quite sure it's PDF format.
Yes.
Probably less than 1,000 kilobytes. Your videos that you post on the website take up far more space. Why don't just post it there for the public to view?
We are. We will. Thank you for that. And thank you, AJ and Carolyn, for being here tonight.
Thank you
Let's give
for
them a
the
round of
time.
applause for their work. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to discussions. I think these are both, Rob, you want to quickly go to U.S. Steel Property Line Drainage Project and then talk.
Yeah, sure. Before we stand on the acid mine drainage project, Montana Environmental had submitted the application into the DEP for a road grader grant, and we're looking for basically to look for environmental surveys. We had a meeting, Dr. Walk, John Mowry, DEP, Bob Penn, and we are looking to move forward on it. It's a complicated project. I mean, it's an exciting project, but it's very complicated, and the first steps have to be the environmental study. So that was put into the grant. We should hear something by October, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. And you have a proclamation you'd like to read?
Yes, unfortunately, this is a proclamation for Robert DeKavik for the sewer service to the community. Unfortunately, he's out of town, so I'm gonna read it and I'll get this to him. So, And I'm gonna go ahead, it's a proclamation of Elizabeth Township honoring resident Robert DeKavick for his loyalty, leadership, and commitment to Elizabeth Township and Elizabeth Township Sportsman Association. Whereas Elizabeth Township resident Robert DeKavick has exemplified a genuine commitment to the Elizabeth Township Sportsman Association and continually demonstrated his dedication throughout his 10 years of membership. And whereas he has also assisted Elizabeth Township Police Department by raising significant funds for the Elizabeth Township Canine Unit. Whereas throughout his years of service to Elizabeth Township Sportsman Association, he has earned the respect, admiration, and high regard of all those whom he has come in contact with. And whereas the service to the community has been characterized by excellent and a genuine love for the people of this proud township, whereas Elizabeth Township is a better place to live, having been served by Robert DeKavick. And now therefore be enacted and proclaimed by this Elizabeth Township Board of Commissioners as follows. Examine and approve the second day of August 2020 on behalf of all citizens, express our great application, appreciation, and thanks to Robert DeKavick for his distinguished service to the community and highly commend him for the commitment to Elizabeth Township. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron, appreciate that. Under resolutions, I'm gonna ask the board that we remove motion to adopt 2021-13, supporting reimagine operations efforts to guide infrastructure investments in the state of region. So I'd ask for us to remove that resolution. Items for consideration, these are all consent motions. So number one, motion to ratify the vote from 6/23/21 to remove 1941 Offshore Drive lot and block number 1569D333 from the township condemnation and demolition list. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Rob, second, Dan. All those in favor? Aye. I'm sorry, I didn't say discussion.
Yeah, I had a little discussion on that.
Go ahead.
Where is that property? I keep kind of calling it, which one we're talking about?
It's a blight.
Oh, okay, all right. That's fine.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion to allow township resident Shane Essay to install a memorial bench on township property 651F325 near the Montauk Trail. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Kyle Walk, second Dan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to allow Joseph Russell from Boy Scouts Troop number 295 to paint reflective icons near fire hydrants on the township-owned roads in Buena Vista area. I need Rob Roderick. Second Dan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And thank you, Joseph, for your help and effort. We appreciate it. Thank you. Motion to reapprove the Elizabeth Township Sportsmen's Association subdivision.
So moved.
Rob, need a second?
Second.
Kyle, any discussion?
I'd like a little more information on that.
This is just reapproving a previously approved subdivision, so that every date is within the 90 days requirement to file it in Allegheny County. Took a little longer to get the signature delay. Yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to release the Elizabeth Township Comprehensive Plan draft document prior to Wednesday, August 11th, 2021, for the official 45-day public view period as required by the Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Code, Section 302, in preparation for a public hearing to take place in the fall of 2021. Need a motion? So moved. Second. Kyle, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 6, motion for the township staff to prepare and publicize advertisements in accordance with the requirements of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code associated with the fall 2021 comprehensive plan public hearing and comprehensive plan adoption. Need a motion, please. Kyle? Second, Dan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, motion to grant John Walsh an additional 120-day extension of the June 7th, 2021 condemnation hearing for property 1266L 56 and 737 Elway Street.
So,
Motion? Need a second? I'll second that. Any discussion?
is that 120 days from June 7th or 120 days
It's 120 days beyond.
Beyond that, that's what I just want to make sure.
It's an extension. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, these are roll call votes. Motion to ratify, vote to approve the general fund warrant dated July 12, 2021 in the amount of $542,880.04. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Kyle, second. Rob. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer,
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes. Motion passes. Motion to ratify, vote to approve the sanitary bill warrant dated July 12, 2021 in the amount of $221,886.96. Need a motion, please?
Motion.
Second, motion by Mr. Roderick, second by Dan. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please. We'll wait.
I'm sorry.
That's good. Roll call.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick.
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer.
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes. Motion to ratify the vote from July 12, 2021, approving the bond requisition number 5, 2019 construction fund in the amount of $95,642.88. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Kyle Walk, second. Dan Poirier. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer.
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes. Number 4, motion to approve the township bill warrant dated August 2nd, 2021 in the amount of $213,201.06.
So moved.
Robert, Dan, for your second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer.
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes. Number 5, motion to approve the sanitary bill warrant dated August 2nd, 2021 in the amount of $94,769.66. Need a motion?
So moved.
Kyle Walker, second. Rob, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer.
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes. Number 6, motion to approve bond requisition number 6, 2019 B construction fund in the amount of $549,467.84. Need a motion, please.
So moved.
Dan, second.
Second.
Kyle, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer.
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes. Motion number 7, motion to donate $100 to the Operation Second Chance charity event sponsored by Butler's Golf Course.
So moved.
Second, Dan. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer.
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes. Motion number 8, to approve sewage treatment payment credit to the Elizabeth Ford School District in the amount of $16,533.19 due to a water main break. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Dan, second, Rob. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer.
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes. Number 9, motion to reimburse Boy Scout Troop 99 $318 for the cost of plastic tubing and glue used to repair damaged military banners displayed in the township. Special thanks to Troy Cookenauer for his repair efforts. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Rob. Any discussion? I'd just like to thank the Boy Scouts for continued help as well. Doing that work is certainly needed and we appreciate it. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer.
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes. Number 10, motion to waive the building permit fee for the construction of a youth camp pavilion at the Elizabeth Township Sportsmen's Association.
So moved.
Rob, second. Dan, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Cliswell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer?
Yes.
President Roberts?
Yes. Number 11, motion to waive the rental fee for the Women's Club of Elizabeth to use building number 3 at the community center September 9th through the 10th of 2021. Need a motion, please?
So moved.
Dan? Second, Rob. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Cliswell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer?
Yes.
President Roberts?
Yes. Number 12, motion to allow the Elizabeth Forward Baseball Boosters to use Building 1 at the Community Center on September 11, 2021, and one Wednesday a month through March 2022, and waive the fee for the year.
So moved.
Rob? Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Cliswell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer?
Yes.
President Roberts?
Yes. 13, motion to waive the police report fees for all residents that are victims of the current unemployment compensation scam. I need a motion and a second, please.
Motion.
Rob, second.
I was part of this, I'm not sure.
You can't say that?
Also moved.
So moved, second, okay. Actually, this is another scam like we have with the credit card scam. People were getting scammed, and we didn't want to have to burden the community by having to pay the fee to get the report, so they could file it, so we're waiving those fees. And that was the recommendation of the police. So,
Yes. Not by their fault.
yes, right, no fault of their own. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Cliswell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer? President Roberts?
Yes. Number 14, motion to approve the emergency services agreement between Elizabeth Township and Southeast Regional Emergency Medical Services effective August 2nd, 2021.
So moved.
Rob, second.
Second.
Kyle, discussion.
Matt, the fact that I'm supposed to on there, am I not vote on this?
Yeah, you are, it wouldn't relate to that, you wouldn't
I just
continue
wanna make
every
sure.
benefit, that was a good question.
Matt, you want to add anything on this motion? We worked on this.
No, we've worked on this for several
Yeah,
months, so I don't think
yeah.
there was any other questions, I think
We've really
hashed
agreed.
everything out, you know.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Cliswell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer?
Yes.
President Roberts?
Yes. Number 15, motion to contribute $500 to Blaine Hill Volunteer Fire Company for their annual Community Day event.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Roderick makes the motion, second, Dan. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Cliswell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer?
Yes.
President Roberts?
Yes. Number 16, motion to authorize KLH engineer to prepare a detailed design specification for the Jacktown Road Bridge replacement of cost not to exceed $35,000.
Motion.
Rob? Second, Dan. We had that discussion already, and Mr. Mauer, we hope you expedite this as quickly as possible, please. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Cliswell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer?
Yes.
President Roberts?
Yes. 17, motion to authorize KLH engineers to prepare detailed design specifications for the repair of stormwater outfall at Stony Brook Drive at a cost not to exceed $25,000. I need a motion.
Motion.
Rob, second, Dan. Discussion.
Yes,
Yeah, this I gotta see, this should be an engineering.
yeah, this is gonna be an engineering fee, but just a comment, I mean, I know we're getting some things together for the infrastructure that's potentially out there. Once we have design specs, I would like to, just know that, this could be a reimbursable expense, should we get any infrastructure grant for this, so. Just a comment.
And I appreciate that, Rob, and I was gonna ask if there's any reimbursement expense for the bridge at Jackson Road too.
So that's what we're looking at, we're looking
Right,
at the bridge
right.
engineering, everything from
But I
both
mean,
of these.
that doesn't mean we gotta move with this again.
Oh, we have to move with
We
it,
gotta
no matter
go.
what, but I do think that, just for public comment.
Tyler, do you have anything else? No. Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Cliswell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer?
Yes.
President Roberts?
Yes. And 18, motion to waive the zoning permit fee for the Elizabeth Township Historical Society for the installation of a storage building.
So moved.
Rob Roderick and Dan Freer, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Cliswell?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer?
Yes.
President Roberts?
Yes. Motion to adjourn? Dan, second Tom. All those in